Hey guys, this is Chris and welcome to Mission 11. We are at the Denver International Airport. It's also called Site F, and this is the final mission of the single player campaign. And once again, you can see the variety of the levels with the blizzard-like conditions, the glistening snow on the ground, and you can almost feel the chill in the air, which is just really neat. Also, with the behind the lens feature, you can see, depending on which way the camera's facing, the snow comes in and gets all over the camera, or if you're facing the other way, you can just see the. What's really cool also is you'll see later on when you're inside and you look outside, it's really neat to see it because the snow's not on the lens, and it's just really cool to see it. So really starting to enjoy all the different weather effects in this game. So you can see we've got different snipers up here. I think there's 3 snipers total up here, and we're going to have to infiltrate this this airport here, take care of the last Blacklist problem. But my thoughts as far as the game, I've given a lot of summaries and how I felt. Of course, it goes without saying, the graphics have just been absolutely gorgeous throughout. I have never seen a game, probably ever, on the 360 that has looked this great. I'm going to give both pros and cons. I'm going to try to be honest. Sure, I am a Splinter Cell loyalist. I love Splinter Cell all the way, but I do want to be honest. A few things with the graphics. There naturally is some screen tearing. That's quite obvious with some of the cutscenes and even some of the gameplay. But when you're dealing with this high of graphics, it's kind of nitpicking. And I've seen so many other games that have a lot of pop-in, a lot of screen tearing, and a lot of worse things, and not near as polished, and didn't have these kind of HD textures to it. So, like I said, as far as comparing, there really is no comparison to the graphics in my eyes. Probably the only thing that even comes closer would have to be something on the PC. So that's one thing I really like. One thing that I really have to admit, and I'll be the first to admit, is that the whole behind the lens feature, when that video came out months ago, while it was still in development, I think that video came out at the beginning of the year, and this was way back in maybe February of 2013. I just remember being so upset because I wasn't used to a lot of lens flare, at least in games. I wasn't used to that, especially in Splinter Cell, of course. So I wasn't used to the lens flare. I wasn't used to dirt and rain and snow being all over the lens, and so it really caught me off guard, and it was really hard for me to take, seeing those images and that video. So it was quite hard for me. But I have to admit, playing this whole game, it really has grown on me. I have really enjoyed it, and the spots still, they really don't bother me. They, I guess in a way, have grown on me too, but like I said before, the whole rainbow effect, and when you look at a light and seeing that flare on there, and seeing how that flare moves when you move the camera, to me that's just outstanding. So as far as the whole behind the lens effect, has just been outstanding, and I think Scott Lee really should get props for all the art direction he has done, not only for behind the lens but also everything else. Another thing that I think this game has in spades, and one thing they were really trying to do, is the fluidity of Sam. I think is unmatched in any other game. I have never in my life seen, oh, here we go. Here's where I was talking about the snow coming out before it hits the lens. I just thought that was so cool. But going back to the fluidity, I have never seen anything move the way that Sam does. And I know if you watch my walkthrough, since I'm a ghost, you're not going to see a lot of the moves. But I have played co-op, and if you look at some Coben missions, you'll see some of those moves. But I have to admit, I'm really looking forward to opening up my playstyle. That's exactly what I'm going to do now that I have gone through this as a Ghost Purist. I'm looking forward to opening up my playstyle and checking out those 90 plus moves, because they are really unbelievable. And I think they have just outdone themselves. The animation director, and I think it's Kevin Zakura, or I hope I got his name right, but he was trained in so many different styles that it was just amazing. And I really give props to Eric and the whole team for all their work. And another thing that I really liked was the whole performance capture. I know a lot of people had a problem with Ironside. I don't want to get in that discussion. I know that's a big... yeah, I loved Ironside. I loved with him. He was a very iconic voice in the game. I always respect him. But I believe the whole performance capture really did add to this. And so again, please don't send comments regarding that, because I'm not here to discuss that. I want to talk about the performance capture and just my opinion on that. I thought it was really well done as well. This part here, actually talking about another part, one thing I really do appreciate is, since I don't use my goggles, and I didn't use my goggles in Conviction, I really appreciate the fact that they put the lasers as red, and they're consistently on this time. Whereas in Conviction, you couldn't see the lasers unless you had your goggles on. And when you put them on, they were white, but if you had them off, you could only see the laser sources. Now, in one way, it made it a very hard challenge, and that was one thing that made it very interesting. On the other hand, it was very, very nice to be able to see these lasers, and especially when I'm doing a walkthrough like this. It was very nice to do that. So that was one thing I really do give them props for. The one thing that one of the cons, I guess, about the lasers is that sometimes it does bug your eyes out a little bit. Depending on how you look at the laser, it will... I know one time when I was doing a co-op run on the Billionaire's yacht, you couldn't even see the lasers depending on what camera angle you were on. So hopefully maybe they can fix that. I know I've gotten to where I can pretty much work around that, and hopefully a lot of people won't have too much problem with that. But I think overall the lasers worked out really, really well in this game. And as far as the single player is concerned, I had absolutely no problem with seeing them and working around them. And then I would probably say the one thing that was kind of a consistent, I guess you could call it an issue, one thing that could definitely use improvement is the contextual controls, where you would hit A and you would be close by different things. For example, let's say you were by a rail, or you were a rail and then you were also by a door, as well as a pipe, 3 different things. So depending on where you were, you could jump up 3 different things. And I understand in one way, but it just seems like at times you would be pointing specifically at one thing, and then the next thing you know, it would just point at the other thing. And I don't know, maybe that was just me not paying enough attention, but I seem to have quite a few problems, especially when you're doing speed runs, when you're trying to climb the leaderboards, different things like that. I know that can be an issue sometimes, so I would probably say that is really my only issue that I've got, is the contextual controls there. I absolutely love the whole vents. Being able to go through this many vents, it reminded me very much of Deus Ex, Human Revolution, when I played that. How much fun that was. I also very much enjoyed the exploration points. There's just something about it. It's minor, and when you have $44 million, it's not that big of a deal, especially when you don't need the money. But there's just something about getting those points and that progression that just, I don't know, it makes you feel like you accomplished something, and that you found it, good job. It just rewards you for it. I guess very similar to achievements on Xbox or trophies on PS3. It's like, okay, what really are they? But who doesn't like the sound of an achievement popping up or anything like that? I know that I'm very proud of my gamer score. So, trying to think of anything else that I know there's a lot more things that I just, of course, one thing that I haven't even mentioned that's probably one of the biggest things is the whole level design. The level design on this game is just ridiculous, and I've never seen anything like it in so many ways. Number one, how many ways you can get through. You've got, of course, the obvious way that you can get through. Even when going the obvious way, you've got shadows. Like, I've gotten through this area going the obvious way through the middle, but there were enough shadows. There's also two pipes in the middle room that you can go on. So I was able to successfully go through that way with all those people in the room. And of course, there were vents to go through. And so there were 3 different ways you can go on the right, the left, and the vent. 3 different ways you can get through a single room. And then, of course, you can come up here, and there's lasers you can go through, and different things like that. I like the collectibles, the dead drops, the laptops, the high-value targets. The one thing that I will mention that I would have liked to have is the option to possibly, once you collect a high-value target, to have them there if you want it. Because once you collect it, let's say if you collected a dead drop and you're recording a walkthrough and you fail the level, then it's not there the next time. So if I'm doing a walkthrough, that's really the reason why I don't collect the dead drops, because if I fail the level and have to start over, then they're not there for me. So it would have been nice to have had them there, but I understand why they did that. But anyway, also regarding the level design, just again, the multiple ways you can do it, and also the customization that you have with the whole economy system, the different outfits that you can do. I really enjoyed, with the past games, you had one suit, you had one way of looking, and with this one, man, how many suits do you have? It's ridiculous how many suits you have. And not only that, but how you can customize. You can do the basic stealth on your torso, and then do the full stealth on your pants, or however you want to do it. You can mix and match all that, And then, of course, you can buy camo and mix it up that way if you want. So just all that customization I thought was fantastic. The guns I really don't know anything about because, as you can imagine, I don't use them. I don't think I fired a single bullet in this game. I think there was a cutscene where I shot through, on the train yards, I shot through a window. Well, that was a cutscene. I thought there was another place where it may have been a cutscene. Of course, there were some sniper levels and stuff like that that you had to do, which mixed up the gameplay. It made it different. Wasn't really expecting it, but it really didn't bother me. As long as I didn't have to kill anybody as Sam, I was okay with it. And the whole first person view was okay. I know some people may have had a problem with that. Playing Dishonored, I played Dishonored and I played Deus Ex and really enjoyed those and went through those two for first person stealth games, which can also be done in Assault, and no one complained about that. But I got through those without killing anybody. So I didn't have a problem with the first person view. And the one thing about that I would have really liked to see Isaac do, though, Isaac Briggs, is have the ability to, and I think I mentioned this in that walkthrough, is the ability to KO, to do hand KOs. I mean, when I was up there, I had one guy, I could just do a hand KO, take care of him. I didn't, being a Ghost Purist and having to do KOs because I had to clear out certain people before I could get that second bomb, it would have been nice just to go right up behind someone and do a hand KO instead of throwing a gas grenade or proximity shocker or anything like that. So that's another thing that I hope they change. There's still so much to play. I've played a lot of co-op, and it's been about a month now. Of course, I've had to do this video editing and get these up on YouTube for the walkthrough, but playing this on Perfectionist and playing it with the very strict rules, naturally it's going to take me longer to get a strategy, to play it through, play the level all the way through, and then play it to the camera to where I have a decent camera angles to show you guys and decide how I want to do it exactly. So that took a little bit longer, but also I have just been loving the co-op section of it. And I haven't even touched Spies versus Mercs. I'm not sure how much I'll get into it, but because I never have been into that. But I haven't even touched that mode yet, which I'm sure I will later on. As far as which level was the hardest for me, I would still say the headquarters level to me was the hardest, and the hardest section by far was that room where you have to get that drive and get out of there, where it's all lit up and you've got, it's all the walls are glass and you've got everybody walking around, and especially if you're not doing any distractions, you're not taking anyone out, you're not using any smoke, grenades or anything. That to me was extremely tough. By far the hardest spot in the whole game. Another feature they put in the game that I'm really happy they added was the dogs. And I know a lot of people had trouble with this. And what I'm going to do is put a video together of basically how to get past them and actually how to use them against the guards, how to use the dogs, get their attention, use their sense of smell, and draw their attention to you, but use obstacles, line of sight, things like that to draw the guards away from you and use the dogs as distractions yourself. That way you're not using any kind of gadget or anything like that. You're using their dog as the distraction itself. So I'm going to go ahead and make a video to show you that. They're also in the walkthroughs if you want to see that, but I'll put it into one video here hopefully within the next week or two so that you can see that. Also, another thing I really like is the leaderboards. This is something that I know they had in Conviction, but was a little bit confused on how all that added up. But everything's really pretty much explained in the leaderboards of what does what, and I must say it really does get quite addicting. Of course, it doesn't tell you in the leaderboards if you had marking on or if you used your goggles or what gadgets you used or anything like that. But of course, really you just play how you want, and it's not all about the leaderboards. It's really how you want to play. But if you do want to climb the leaderboards, it's all about using the multiplier and going through and getting 3, 4, 5 time KOs, stealth KOs, and that really adds up. And that and getting lower times, that's how you climb up on the leaderboards. Also, the shadow net, the stat tracking, I think is really great, and how they divide up the percentage for each playstyle. I think that was really cool. And I think I'm currently at 99.2% Ghost after completing the single player on Perfectionist, as well as completing all of Grimm's and Coben's 4E missions. And I think I had 0.4 on Panther and 0.4 on Combat. So I was really happy to see some stat tracking and kind of see how I see a lot of signatures go by about, okay, I'm a Ghost or I'm a Panther or I'm this and that, but I think it was neat to see, okay, this is really how I play, and thought that was quite interesting. One thing I wish they would add, and I kind of hope they do, is I really wanted a play clock timer that you see in just about every game that does these kind of stats. I remember when I was playing Conviction, I played so many hundreds of hours in Conviction, I always wanted to know exactly how long I played it, because I know it was upward to 1,000 and quite possibly even more. So would love it if they added a play clock timer on that. The next thing that we'll be doing, my longtime buddy, co-op buddy, will be playing the Briggs missions, and so we'll be coming up with some new videos on that. I just wanted to also send out a shout to Zach Cooper. He, of course, is our Splinter Cell community developer, and just wanted to let everybody know we're very fortunate, as you know, to have someone of his caliber. He's always kept us in the loop throughout the development process, and I just can't imagine everything this guy has been through with the forums. He's been such a professional through it all and has kept a real positive attitude with us. And I know people have joked about there being too many videos or too much coverage, but personally I've enjoyed every single bit of coverage that Zach and his team has done for us. Loved every bit of it and has just been great. And I honestly don't think you'll find a more passionate fan toward the Splinter Cell franchise than myself, and really believe Blacklist has once again raised the standard in the graphics, the level design, the variety of environments, the customization, the gameplay mechanics, just the unmatched fluidity, and also the social aspect, with co-op, and I'm sure with Spies versus Mercs, even though I haven't played that mode yet, I'm sure there's got to be a lot of social interaction there and a lot of good times. I did play a little bit in Toronto back in May, and I remember just a couple hours of that was a lot of good times. So many hours of fun and much more good stuff to go. So, in closing, I just want to say congratulations, Ubisoft Toronto. It's an incredible game, and want to say thank you for the thousands of hours each studio has put in. I know that Ubisoft Shanghai and Montreal, Red Storm, I don't know if anybody else, I'm sure maybe some others contributed, but I know of those. But I know Toronto, you guys, this is your baby, and want to say thank you so much. It's been an unforgettable experience, and even though I've just finished the campaign, my Splinter Cell journey has just now begun. As I mentioned, will continue putting up video walkthroughs. We'll be doing it for the 4E missions on both solo and co-op. So please stay tuned, and thank you everyone for the support. I hope this Ghost Purist walkthrough series has been useful to you. Thanks, guys.
Careful. There are snipers out there just waiting for you to make a stupid mistake.
I know you can't respond, Sam. But if they leave Denver, it's all over. Stop him any way you can.
I want a full sweep of the plane when we get there.
Huh?
Sam, Briggs is down. Sadiq's making a run for it.
Go, get Sadiq! You're bleeding out.
Grandma, get Briggs a medic now. I'm going after Sadiq.
Copy, we're on it.
Descend's here!
Where are you? Now, where's he? Just give up!
There's always another option.
Looks like our wire transfer's been received.